Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarane. So we're reading from the Bhagavad-gita, seventh chapter, entitled Transcendental Knowledge. Put the bookmark in the wrong place. Here we are. And we're reading verse 19. This verse is a famous or important verse. If one was to take a Bhagavad-gita course, this would definitely be one of the verses that you would be directed to learn. So I'll say the word, each word, and we'll repeat, and then we'll say each line. Responsively, I'll chant the whole verse 3 times, and then everyone can take a chance. Take a turn, as they like. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Yanavan Mam Prapadyaye, yes. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Su Durlabaha Bahunam Janmanam Ante Yanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabaha Bahunam Janmanam Ante Yanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabaha Bahunam Janmanam Ante Yanavam Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabaha. Okay.
Bahunam Janmanam Ante Yanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabaha. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Yanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabaha.
Bahunam Janamati
Janmanam Ante
Janava Mam Prapadite Vasuda Sarvamiti
Vasudeva Sarvam Iti
Sa Mahatma Sadurlabha
Mahatma Sudurlabaha.
Anyone else like to try?
Janmanam Ante
Bahunam
Janmanam Ante
Yanavan Mam Prapadyate
Yanavan Mam Prapadyate
Vasudeva Sarvamiti
Vasudeva Sarvam Iti
Sa Mahatma Sudurlabaha.
Sa Mahatma Sudurlabaha.
Okay. Bahunam, many. Janmanam, repeated births and deaths.
Repeated births and deaths.
Ante, After Jnanavan, one who is in full knowledge.
One who is in full knowledge.
Mam, unto me.
Unto me.
Prapadyate,
Prapadyate.
surrenders.
Surrender.
Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead.
Personality of God.
Sarvam, everything. Iti, thus. Sa, that. Mahatma, great soul. Sudur Labaha, very rare to see. After many births and deaths, let me say complete, and then no, I mean this is procedure, and unless we understand it, then there's nothing wrong. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. And now we'll repeat phrase by phrase. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals, after many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to Him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, that He is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from Him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus, he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. This verse is very nicely explained in the 3rd chapter, verses 14 and 15 of the Svetasvatara Upanishad. Sahasrasirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapat, Sa Bhumim Vishato Ritva, Tyatistad Dasanugulam, Purusha Evidam Sarvam, Yad Bhutam Yakcha Bhavayam, Utamritavasya Yeshano Yad Ane Na Tiro Hati. In the Chandogya Upanishad 5.1.15, it is said, Navai vacho na chakshumshi na sochani na mana masiti achakshate prana iti eva chakshate prano hi evatani sarvini bhavanti. Quote, in the body of a living being, neither the power to speak, nor the power to see, nor the power to hear, nor the power to think is the prime factor. It is life which is the center of all activities, unquote. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is the prime entity in everything. In this body, there are powers of speaking, hearing, of mental activities, etc. But these are not important if not related to the Supreme Lord. And because Vasudeva is all-pervading and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. Reference to Bhagavad-gita 7:17, which we read 2 classes ago, and 11:40. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Amritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishnam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vidham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakavitam Sja Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavam Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Savarm Iti Samahatma Sadurlabaha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Krishna has spoken since the 16th verse, where he described the 4 types of good people, 4 types of pious people who approach the Supreme Lord. Those who are in some type of material distress, those who are in need of money, financial and material backing because they're lacking, those who are inquisitive. What is truth? What is God? Who is God? And the 4th, which Krishna says is the best of the 4, one who is actually a seeker, one who's really searching for God, absolute truth. And their level of alloy or mixture with material desires is considerably, markedly less than the previous 3. Someone in material distress or material need, they will go to God when they're in their distress, and invariably, If they make a lot of money or they get their situation together and become prosperous, then their need to pray to God is lessened. I think this is a World War I saying. There's no atheists in the foxholes. Right? That you're put in a very dangerous situation, that it is natural, as this beautiful purport of Srila Prabhupada developed, culminating in the very end, that Vasudeva is the prime entity in everything and everyone. You know, when everything is going along good and, you know, there's no need to really pray to God. One is under the illusion. The conditioned soul thinks himself the doer of activities. I am doing, I am owning, I am possessing, I am the controller. They're forgetful that behind everything, Krishna is the Upajasta and Unamata. He's the overseer and he's the permitter. A crude example is like you have small children and you allow them what they consider in their 2.5 feet, 3 feet tall world, run amok everywhere, but they're just running around the house, your property. It's under your control, but they think that they're very much independent. And you might even allow them to think, the children, oh boy, you're like, you know, they build a sandcastle at the beach and they elect one of them. I'm the king of this castle. Yes, and yes, you're. So Krishna allows everyone to, but within a certain boundary. Of course, all of that is temporary. Just you build it, the children build a sandcastle at the beach. They have a very nice day. Time and tide wait for no man. The tide comes in, the sun goes down, the parents take the children home, the waves wipe out it's all finished. So Krishna is saying here, after many births and deaths of such, and he uses the word executing devotional service or transcendental rituals. That approaching God is the common reality for everyone. And those who are not too contaminated by atheism and demoniac propensities, which predictably, I'll use the word unfortunately, Kali Yuga allows or facilitates, just like the winter season, which we're just now having a cold front come in and turn the 55-degree weather into 25-degree weather for a couple of days. That's what it is. So people are very much covered by the influence of this age. One little tangential thought, that we're all eternal living entities and everyone's walking around. This is Kali Yuga. But if we could take like, what is it? A time warp magic wand to go bing, and it becomes Satya Yuga, and everybody would be behaving much, much better and differently because of the influence of this age. Crude example, like you have to put on your winter clothes and everything today, but in the summertime, you don't have to wear them. It's a different atmospheric condition. So piety, religion, morality, thinking and doing for the welfare of others without expecting anything in return, which is practically unheard of today. That is the common principle in previous age, especially Satya Yuga. It's described in one place that this Kali Yuga is the opportunity for the living entity to harvest the complete bitter fruits of his turning away from God, to ultimately teach him a lesson that this is not what you want. So, transcendental rituals, Prabhupada would say of Christianity that he saw, that you go to the church and you confess your sins, and the priest or the father, he blesses you, say a few Hail Marys, and nominally say sin no more, but then they go and they spend the whole nother, and they come back and professional confessing. They're not actually becoming free from their material desires. Or is that, we call it the Artik song. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare. So we make, it's like when there's an Artik, that's like a common tune that you'll hear chanted in temples. So they go, a house and a car and a color TV, Swami Jai Jagadish Hare. And we go to the temple, right? And you rattle off the words and you say, what's in the prayer book. But if we put like what is it, when you go to the 3D movie and you put on the eyeglasses so you could really see what's going on, and so you can actually see what the translation, what they're saying. Give me a house, a car, and a color TV. Give me money. If you go into shops of merchants, storekeepers, in practically everywhere in India, who is their primary deity? Ganesh, Ganapati, the son of Lord Shiva and Goddess, because he gives abundant wealth, purportedly. So some of Srila Prabhupada's, let's say, highly creative thinking devotees, they heard this and they approached Srila Prabhupada and asked him, can we worship Ganesh? And Prabhupada said, yes, but only if you give me $25,000 a day. 50 years ago. So what's it, $250,000 a day. So that's many people's idea of religion. And when there is no money, or there's scarcity, or there's some terrible situation, like war, probably he was very much he lived through World War II. And of course, India was secretly in league with the Axis powers, especially Germany, because Germany had declared war on Great Britain, and who was occupying and colonizing and terribly exploiting the resources and people of India for the last 200 years. Oh, that's right. It was England. So one who is an enemy of my enemy, he's my friend. So anyway, the Nazis took everyone, and ultimately even people under the age of 18, over the age of 65, every male person. So when their sons and brothers and husbands didn't come back from the war, then the German ladies, they concluded there is no God, because God would have protected. So this is very faint and very minuscule knowledge, as Prabhupada is saying, when one realizes that there is God, and that God is actually a person, and that in spiritual life, there are actual spiritual activities. This propitiates, or this is the foundational cornerstone that gives rise to real enthusiasm and zeal and desire to approach the personality of Godhead in a transcendental loving relationship, which makes detachment from, Prabhupada says here, materialism as easy as anything. Prabhupada would give the crude example of, in relation to, you can give up the lower taste by experiencing the higher taste. That the pauper is attached to his penny. Okay, give me the penny, and I will give you $1 million. Here's the sheriff right here. Here's a legal document. This is not a joke. This is not a hoax. You're really going to get them $1 million tax-free. It's yours. Okay, here's my penny. Here's your $1 million. You win. You got it. Crude example. But without that offer of $1 million, what to speak of even that there even could be such an offer, you're going to hold on to that penny as if your life depended on it. Because that's all you got and that's all you know. So, knowledge of the personality of Godhead must be and is always based upon selfless giving, love between yourself and the personality of Godhead. The more you give, the more you get. Krishna is the ultimate munificent, all-merciful personality. What is the statement here? One realizes that the mercy doesn't mean like, okay, I forgive you or I will protect you, but it simultaneously means the complete perfection of loving reciprocation that we are all seeking because we're part and parcel of Krishna. And unless that reciprocation is there and shared with others who are also established on that sublime platform, that means association with pure devotees, then the happiness that we are seeking can never be fulfilled. And that is actually the learning experience of repeated birth and death. Repeated birth and death is unnecessary for a self-realized soul. So much so that to keep going to school is not required for one who has graduated. There was some funny movie called Groundhog's Day, and you just repeat the same thing. So imagine you have to, you're like, here we are, however old we are. Let's pick a grade. You have to repeat your senior year in high school for the rest of eternity. Again, well, people enjoy their senior year in high school. Okay, let's choose 7th or 8th grade or something, or what is it? Anyway, yeah, something not so enjoyable. Huh? Your first job, over and over again, and there's no change to it. You can't wiggle around to change the destiny. It's the same thing. Prabhupada says in one place, when one realizes that material sense gratification is simply the repetition of the same thing, one can give it up. Here, the illusion is that there's eating, there's sleeping, there's mating, the rituals of mating, defending, but we can do it differently with a little different flavor and nuance with this type of fashion, in this type of club, with this different type of color coordinated light show, or the food is cooked in this way, or whatever the style, but it's basically just the same thing. And it has a beginning and a very quick end, and it always leads to degradation. Degradation of all different levels, but the main degradation is the ability to understand truth becomes more and more, you have less opportunity. Just like if I have something clean and more dirt just keeps, like if you park your car, like you see cars that are parked and they've been unattended for days or weeks, they're all dusty, dirty, or the snowplow came by and all the salt and everything is sprayed all over it. Nobody's attended it. That's material sense gratification. So people are not cleansing the mirror of their heart in this Kali Yuga, and they become more and more dirty subtly. Their mind becomes more and more contaminated. So the ability to understand what to speak of, the desire to even understand real truth becomes very much less and minimal to the point of extinct. So that's what this verse is saying. Very, very rare to meet a pure devotee in this world. But in the spiritual world, it's not at all rare at all. It is the standard, gold standard. And it's Krishna's mercy that there can be a pure devotee in this world. And it's also his mercy that in the spiritual world, the opposite, there's no possibility that there can be anyone but a pure devotee. Those who are not up to the standard, who in any way could disturb the sublime atmosphere, this material world is their place to be. So this material world, there's always going to be friction between those who want to go the right way and those who want to go the wrong way. And going the wrong way also includes keeping things as they are. There's no plateau that you can just remain on. Either you're progressing or you're regressing. So the more that we advance, the more that our knowledge becomes uncovered, the more that our real desires become prominent. Narottam Das Thakur, in one of his prayers, he's praying to Lord Chaitanya's empowered immediate disciples, the 6 Goswamis, by offering my respects to these Goswamis, which means, respects does just mean Dandavat Maharaj. Okay, that's very nice, but real respect is to follow their principles. That's real showing of respect. By doing that, following their instructions and adopting them sincerely in your own life, what happens? All obstacles to perfection, to devotion, are destroyed, removed, and one's real desire is manifested. Maya makes us think this is you. You're thinking this, you're feeling this, you're enjoying this. But it's just illusion. It's not you. This is the symptom of the topmost devotee, the Uttam. He is beyond convinced. He is actually situated directly in relationship with Krishna. And what to speak of, Maya cannot even touch or infiltrate his consciousness, even a pinprick. He becomes so powerful on behalf of Krishna that he can deliver the entire material world. The general instruction for devotees is to be facilitatory or give assistance to the distribution of the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, which means living in a city like New York, going out on Sankirtan, going through all the difficulties, financial, legal, et cetera, to maintain a big temple and to have programs where 300-400 or sometimes 1,000 people attend, to give out prasadam, to clean the trash, to make sure the cars don't get tickets, and pay the electric bill, et cetera. Legal cases have to go into hire a lawyer. So many things. Using all of your intelligence and physical ability to get the job done right. And it is, if one simply wants to go to a secluded place and avoid all of this responsibility and headache and simply chant Hare Krishna without any other responsibility, it's generally looked down upon or even condemned. But there is a very rare class of devotee, a personality, who Krishna instructs and very much desires to do like that, because their chanting means what? Means directly relating with Krishna in unlimitedly beautiful ways, giving pleasure to the personality of Godhead. And because Krishna is the prime entity within everything and everyone, that empowered pure devotee, they're chanting in a so-called secluded place. Secluded means no disturbance from the materialists. So we do Harinam in public places, subway, especially in the wintertime. You know, all the crazy people, the mentally disturbed people, they can't be outside in 20-degree weather. Their home is the subway system. So we have to deal with these people. And sometimes it's not at all pleasant, and it's threatening and even dangerous. So when we have the opportunity to chant in the temple, it's a different type of atmosphere. Only those who wish to be there. In the subway, it's whoever's walking by, you know. You know, it's like, if you like it, you can stop and listen. If you don't like it, you can just keep walking. But in the temple, you choose to be there. And on the temple, we have locks. We have the front door is locked, and we have an inner lock, and we have a receptionist. And yes, may I help you? And we, you know, like do like a vetting or a screening. What are you here for? You know, and you know, some people have to be turned away, and once in a while, the police have to be called. Even Lord Chaitanya, he's going out on public Sankirtan, and he's asking his devotees to do the same. But they had their own internal kirtan. And for those who wish to come and make disturbance, even during Lord Chaitanya's time, there was criticism, which we won't get into. It's a whole different story. And so they had a guard, and the door was locked. And only known persons were given admittance. And one time, Lord Chaitanya, he felt there was something wrong in the atmosphere in the kirtan, and said, there is an unwanted person here. And because of that, I'm not feeling the same ecstatic, I'm not feeling the same ecstasy. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his time on this planet was from 1838 till 1914. So this is about 250 years after the disappearance of the Goswamis, the disciples of Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya inaugurated the Sankirtan movement, it's the incarnation of Krishna. Very, very powerful. And then his immediate disciples and their disciples, Srinivasacharya, Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Prabhu, they were doing very nicely. But the tendency in this material world, especially in Kali Yuga, you start something that's very, very nice and pure, and after some time, it becomes degraded, becomes contaminated by material desires. Here's a recent example, kind of not on the same level. I'll use the word crude for lack of a better word. The idealistic movement of what later got termed by the media. It wasn't the people who were involved in this, hippies. They were in San Francisco, 1965, 1966, and the immediate people who were there thought that this was very, very beautiful. But then as it became publicized, the whole thing just kind of like became contaminated, and like people came to exploit, and drug dealers and prostitute rings, and there was violence, and it just became horrible. So much so that the original people, they had a ceremony as early as June of 1967, so the Summer of Love, even before the summer started, death of the hippie, and they all left and went, you know, north of San Francisco into the Marin County and other places. So anyway, you can think of so many examples. Something is very nice, and then it becomes commercialized. So in terms of Lord Chaitanya's movement, which propounds the highest understanding of relationship with the Godhead in primary rasas of servitude, friendship, parentalhood, and the most confidential and most often misunderstood is the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, where the devotee relates to Krishna as one would have a relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend, which in this material world, in all species of life, is the primary binding principle, the attraction between male and female. And in human society, there's all good standards and rules and regulations how to guide, steer, direct, harness, choosing words, sorry if they're not right, that attraction so that there is a very favorable outcome for everyone. And when that's not done, so many terrible things. So what happened was that false devotees, cheap devotees, they're called sahajiyas, they made it very cheaply understood, just like, okay, we can tell you what is your relationship with Krishna as a gopi by paying me, I don't know, exchange rate. You can give me 100 rupees. There was even as far as 50 years ago in the 1970s, there was some so-called personality doing like that, and give some money, and okay, this is your name, this is your age, this is your dress, this is your mood, this is your group. And there were two friends who had come from somewhere in Europe, and they each had received the instruction differently. And what's your name? And what's this? And that their friends said, well, that's my name. It's like, I gave $100 or whatever. It was just a scam. And then, so-called Babajis living in sacred places like Radha Kund, the most sacred of all places. And they're keeping like 18 or 25 different girlfriends, having sex in the name of, I'm cultivating Madhurya Ras. So this degradation became so widespread and common and cemented over generations that intelligent people, when they heard the name Vaishnava, they just thought these are just degraded people engaged in like licentious fornication. No sane person can even touch it. So that which is the highest attainment became degraded to no respectability at all. There was a movement in Bengal, which was the seat of the British rule. They made Calcutta their base, called, what was it? The Bengali Renaissance, where they were trying to synthesize in a harmonious way the teachings of the Vedas, which was dubbed by the foreign occupiers as Hinduism, with Darwinism, evolution, what was it called? The Age of Reason, European intellectual, and Christian values. Can't do that. But anyway, they were trying. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he came of age during this period, and Lord Chaitanya's movement for a good long period of time was in the dumpsters. And he tried very, very hard throughout his life. And then of course, he prayed for the Lord to send him some assistance because he felt himself incapable of doing it by himself. And of course, his fourth son was the great personality, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, who became the spiritual master of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's tact was we could use the word ecumenical. He tried to make friends. He didn't, try to too much defeat other people's misconceptions or misapplications. He was of the spirit that by being friendly with me and coming to associate with me, there's more of a chance for them to become more sympathetic or even come to my side of how the actual principles of Krishna consciousness and religion should be applied and understood. And he was doing that with the intelligentsia of that society at the time. Now, towards the end of his life, when he was in his late 60s, 70s, he passed away at the age of 76. And his son, Bhaktisiddhanta, was born in 1874. So by this time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was in his late 20s, early to mid 30s. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, to the contrary, took a very hard stance. He understood that he had to defeat a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misinterpretations, just like, if you're the gardening or landscaping crew and, okay, you have to come take care of this estate that's been neglected for the last 25 years. You got to cut down all the weeds. You take out the chainsaw and you're not just going in there with a lawnmower for 15 minutes and everything looks beautiful. You really got to do some heavy lifting. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was like that, but he manifested that much more after his father departed in 1914. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in self-reflection at the end of his life, he felt dissatisfaction that I tried to be friends with these people, but in many cases, we can all have experience that if we're inordinately friendly or we give too much trust to different people, they'll take advantage of us for their own name, fame, and glory like that. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was disappointed. So the Lord Chaitanya appeared to him and said, "My dear Sahajana," which means my dear beautiful devotee, don't worry. I want you to go to the seashore at Jagannath Puri, where I personally gave samadhi to Haridas Thakur, who was the Namacharya, was the authority in chanting the holy name. He was chanting practically all day and night. That was his service. And the glories of Haridas Thakur are amazing. He wrote a book, where a book was compiled of questions and answers, a conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur. It's called Harinam Chintamani. It's highly, highly recommended. You can find it online. It can be purchased perhaps online, and I think our store in the Brooklyn Temple has it. It describes all necessary instructions from beginning to end, how to chant the holy name and achieve perfection. So anyway, he's instructing Bhaktivinoda Thakur to go, and that's also where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. He resided there for the majority of his later life, for the last 18 years of his life. He disappeared in that very place, the temple of Tota Gopinath, Jagannath Puri. And you simply go and you simply chant my holy names all day and night. And by doing this, you will deliver the entire universe. So that is the power of the presence of one pure devotee, thus authorized and instructed by the Lord. So we can understand how powerful is the chanting of the holy name, which is Krishna himself. It's like if we have a problem, we want to call the police, and the police come. Not like these days, you know. They'll come with the what is it? The medical examiner and and sweep it up afterwards, you know. But anyway, they come immediately and take care of the problem. So when we call Krishna, it's like we're calling the police. More than the police, we're calling our friend, our lover, our mother, our father, what, everything. If Krishna was to walk into this room right now, how our lives would change. What would we feel? What would be thinking? What would be? So that is chanting Hare Krishna. We're petitioning the Lord to appear. And to the extent of our purity and sincerity, the Lord will appear. And when we do it all together, it's even more powerful. It's like a class action suit. Can you give a little definition? What is a class action suit?
And various individuals have a cause of action that is very similar to that of the others. Then there is a legal vehicle by which they can file a single action together as multiple plaintiffs who are similarly situated against the same defendants.
Wow, I couldn't have defined it better myself.
Looks like he has an experience.
So we all have this similar experience. We're coming to learn, we're coming to understand. And these beautiful verses from Krishna. See, Krishna's a person. This is his thinking. He's revealing. He's told us the 4 bad types of people, gave us the Maya Pratyajnana, the Naradama, who else? Maya Pratyajnana, atheism, and like, horrible. Ooh, go away. And then he's telling us. And then what he really wants to tell us is the good people. And then he goes more. He just speaks one verse about the bad people. It's enough. But now he's telling us on and on about the good people. And this is just wonderful. So Srila Prabhupada is the one to make the tide rise in the harbor. And by that, all boats become elevated. There's the chapter 20 of the 10th canto, which is description of the rainy and autumn season. And it's describing the beauty of natural phenomena in Krishna's Vrindavan and with philosophical understanding related to that natural phenomena. So when the rainy season comes, different animals and living entities, but the frogs is given. They immediately start croaking because they know that rain is going to be worms and things that they can eat and catch, and they're very happy. So similarly, in this Kali Yuga, everyone is sleeping in the, oh, no. How does it go after that? Okay. Yeah, so the frogs wake up. Just like in Kali Yuga, just in the ashram of the spiritual master, the brahmacharis are not inclined to rise of their own accord. You have to get up early, before sunrise. So a bell is rung or sounded in the cultural institution to wake everybody up. So similarly, in this Kali Yuga, everyone is sleeping in the darkness of ignorance. And only by the calling of a great acharya does everybody rise up and perform the actual duties of human life. So Srila Prabhupada is coming. Krishna has arranged that many persons who fit into this category, Bahunan Janmanam Ante, came forward without any, hogwash or, any hesitation. They met Srila Prabhupada and instantly surrendered to him, being attracted because he's representing Krishna. So this Bhagavad-gita, as it is, of Srila Prabhupada, is his masterclass work in consultation with Krishna. That is the first thing that I ever saw in Krishna consciousness. And immediately upon seeing it and reading it, I was convinced, and immediately I have to go seek out the temple. And of course, in those days, it wasn't like, okay, take your time, don't jump into it. I mean, they just immediately, I was like tackled, and like, just,
When did you first time?
That's a, yeah. So maybe we should do like that again, right? Maybe there's some people anyway. But I mean, okay, not in self-praise or anything, but arguably, maybe the times were different for that. We were mentioning the hippie movement and all of that. Why would the immediate children of World War II veterans who had just gone through the Great Depression, there was so much struggle from 1929 practically all the way until the war ended in 1945. The war years, and everybody, we're going to get it together and production and this and that. But that was really tough period of time, like a good 15 or more years. So now now America is the top dog on the street. No more British Empire. We're the boss. And we have money, we got resources, and we can just settle down the good old-fashioned rocking and stopping 1950s consumerism, And the children of this, unlike, before, like you see pictures of like kids during the Great Depression, niggardly cloth, and just their only toy is like a old tire and a stick, and and like barefoot. And now we got everything. We got electric this and that, and washing and drying, and TV, and it's like we got rock and roll, we got records, we and everybody's rejecting this. Why? It doesn't make any sense. So how powerful is a pure devotee? You can change the course of history. Prabhupada even said, historians will mark this time how the world has changed. So if you're actively engaged, placing yourself into internal meditation and concentration through practice on a daily basis, you'll be able to perceive these things happening. Whereas otherwise, historians, they'll look through, it's like you very rarely understand what's happening when it's happening. Okay, let's look back over the last 50, 100 years in perspective, and, and then we could write our theory, our idea on the thing, That's because people are caught up in the modes of material nature while it's happening. But a devotee, he's beyond the modes of material nature, and he's always situated in the ultimate reality. He's in now. He's not in the past. He's not stagnant in the present, without any understanding where he came from or where he's going. And there's no doubt of what is the future. Prabhupada said, for those engaged in this Krishna consciousness movement, there's no question of uncertainty. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Julia.
We were talking about the Bengali Renaissance.
Yeah.
Did you ever speak about like Yeah, I'm probably messing up the names because I think you were talking about like the Brahmo movement, the Brahma
Brahma
Samaj.
Samaj.
Yeah, and like Rama Krishna.
Yeah.
Did he ever speak about that?
Ramakrishna, yeah. Vivekananda,
Yeah,
because he
he started
witnessed
out
it.
as I think Vivekananda started out as a Brahma. That he
Mm.
was like, did he ever speak of
Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he much more had to deal with that because that was during his time. Factually or luckily, Srila Prabhupada's preaching here, most people had a very vague or had no idea who that was or what was their doctrine. That's what Prabhupada very much liked it because people here, they would be like a clean slate. And even more than America, Prabhupada really, really liked Australia because, you know, they're really removed from everything down there. And he's just like, wow, he really liked Australia.
Very Christian based back there. Like there was some videos that I see they give him a little hard time.
He was invited to a Franciscan monastery in the outskirts or countryside of Melbourne. They were followers of St. Francis. And a question was asked, what do you think of St. Francis? And it was explained to Srila Prabhupada, he would see that every living entity is part of God, that God's within every living entity, and he would address every living entity as his brother and sister. And Prabhupada became wide-eyed and emotional, said, this is really God consciousness. This is first-class God consciousness. And, you know, all of those, you know, they're all following, you know, disciplines and rules and regulations. They're monks in a monastery. And it was a very emotional experience. You hear devotees who were there at the time, Charu Prabhu, who's now in Utah, Provo. Anyway, he was there. He's American, but he was asked to go and start things up in Australia. And also Prabhupada's American disciple, Madhu Dweis. You can find descriptions. You can even see that there's movie footage of that. You can look and see. We're good? Did I answer anything else?
All right, quick question. Like, so you 1978, you got initiated, right?
Let's ask about the class. I don't want to talk about myself.
Just curious. Like, if I might ask, when did you get in contact?
No,
with
Mero. I'm just saying.
Oh,
Maybe
I'll ask
you specifically just said, let's not talk about that topic.
You answered the question, 1978.
No,
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you after. Sorry, that's so much.
Um, I noticed that it struck a chord with me. You said
Class
that-
action suit?
No, definitely not. But
There's a weekend. It was a
when
weekend
you
to
got
look.
your Bhagavad-gita wrong, and then
What?
and you made your way to the temple, and you were tackled.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering if you could say something about how the phenomenon or the phenomenon of the tackle was a successful means of moving forward the movement then, and what your thoughts are about, because you said something you're like, well, times are changing, maybe. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that.
Well, you know, according to the person, it was kind of, they had a very well owned craft of, for both men and ladies, called it the Bhakta or the Bhakti program. And, you know, I guess it was much more commonplace at the time that, again, young people were dissatisfied. Okay, I'm going to college, but I don't know why. I don't like what I'm learning. You know, I'm not into this. I want to. So the devotees are, okay, then yeah, forget it. Do this. This, you know, just preach the philosophy. You know, this goes nowhere. You're going to die, and you know, everything you acquire materially, you can't take it with you. And there's one of my contemporaries. His name is Mahaprabhu. So there was a record album made by devotees called Rasa, Everything You See Is Me. And it had on the back, you know, like, special thanks to George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Alice Coltrane, who was the daughter of John Coltrane, Stevie Wonder, maybe a few others I didn't know. So this young man, he grew up in Harlem, like, you know, like maybe Upper Harlem, like 155th Street. And he got the record album and the address of the temple. And he came to the temple and said, I want to meet Alice Coltrane. And the devotees in the Bhakta program said, well, she's coming. You just stay here. And it was an outright lie, you know. So he stays. I don't know if he shaved him up. He had like an afro, but like he maybe cut his hair. He put him in like yogi pants and, you know, tilak and going through them. And he's going, you know, so he's going, so where is Alice Coulter? Oh, she had to change her plans, you know. And then he's hey, you guys tricked me, and goes, you know, and they like, you know what, man? You know, I don't think you're man enough to stay here, you know. What do you mean I'm not man enough? I'll prove me wrong. Okay, I can do it, you know. Like tricked them, you know. They had all these different kind of like tricks up their sleeve, you know. That's Mahaprabhu. He runs the Rathi. Ask him about that, you know. Okay.
You know, one of contemporaries.
I mean, she's got some good tracks.
No, she
She
actually
does
there's she was in Los Angeles and she had a friendly relationship with the devotees there, and she said, I want to go to Vrindavan. So I saw this on the Prabhupada Memories, one of Prabhupada's lady disciples. She was very young at the time, and she was asked to accompany Alice Coltrane to Vrindavan. I think they even met Prabhupada. This is 1977, and this was her, the devotee's first time to go, and she said many nice things, how reverential and devotional she was, and you know. That's on the Prabhupada Memories. I don't remember the devotee's name. Next time I bump into that, I'll remember the reference, and I could, yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting thought though, or idea that, you know, times are different, or maybe they're not. I mean, is it the times are different, or the spirit souls, their, you know, average level of consciousness, who are brought into the world today are an average different than they were, say, in the 90s, like when a lot of us, because I mean, for example, like when I and let's say Subi joined, and you know, so many of the brahmacharis in the 90s were all distributing books. I mean, a lot of us, I mean, there's no hippie background, there's maybe punk rock, hardcore background. A lot of us
Straight edge.
Maybe, I mean, a lot of us are from like somewhat well-to-do, you know, backgrounds. And what does that have to do? How is that more suitable for surrendering to Krishna and giving up your career path or your educational path and moving to the temple and, you know, for years on end? I would say that logically, it's not one iota more favorable to the surrender. So to me, it would seem to be then the conclusion, this is my own pontificating here, but to me, the conclusion would be that either the spirit souls who were born in that year, there were many more of them who were looking to surrender before they were even born, and then, or it's that the persons who are propagating, the devotees who are propagating Krishna consciousness at that time compared to some other time in the future, maybe their means of doing so was of a different quality.
Less potent.
Seems to me that it's one of those two. One of those two would be the logical conclusion. Not that, oh, today's times is less likely for people to move in the temple than in the 90s. The 90s, there's no reason. There is nothing about that day and age that is like says, oh yeah, you look at the socio-economic, geographical status of the average people, and yes, that's very suitable for people to drop everything, move in the temple, chant Hare Krishna, give everything up. No way. There's nothing about it. Because obviously we hear some talk like that, but if you look at it, no, I don't think so. Logically, I don't see it.
The hippie movement wasn't, like everybody. There was a lot of, hedonistic, atheistic, nihilistic, some really tough people,
And Prabhu, and in support of my point, now that I'm thinking of the point you're making just now, or the example you're sort of giving, Srila Prabhupada specifically said, right? He said that my spiritual master brought all these people
That's the real
here
principle.
to help me serve you, or something that.
Right.
So that's support of my point, that it's not the socio-economic circumstances that made that explains why there was, as one book called it, the Hare Krishna explosion in the late 60s, early 70s. Or rather, there was a lot of spirit souls there who wanted to surrender to Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah. There's Prabhupada telling confidentially how he's in Goloka Vrindavan with Krishna, and Krishna is asking him to come down. And the only thing that Krishna said to him to do was, you simply go there and write your books, and I will take care of everything. And Prabhupada is complaining. He's protesting. You know what he said? I don't want to go down there. And you know the reason why he said he doesn't want to go down there? Because it's a very dirty place. Said, that's all right. You go, you write your book. And what did Krishna said? And I will take care. You just write the book and I will take care of everything else. Like, the rock star, whoever, they got their production crew. You just go out there on the stage and sing your song, and we'll do everything else. We'll handle security. We'll collect the money for the tickets. We have the roadie set up the stage, whatever. That's it. You just do that,
Yes, and to explain it, it was Srila Prabhupada's desire. It was Srila Prabhupada's desire, which was Bhakti Siddhanta's, his spiritual master's desire. That's why everything happened. That's you could explain it like that.
So there's a very nice thing I'm going to show you. This is the Srila Prabhupada audio library. It's on my phone. There's everything Prabhupada is. Every Srimad Bhagavatam class, Bhagavad-gitas, Chaitanya Charitamrita arrival address. You know what? We're celebrating the 50th anniversary in these days, February 28th through March 3rd. Prabhupada arriving at New Panihati Mandir in Atlanta and seeing the beautiful golden deities of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and saying in ecstasy, two lords, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they're very kind. You see, Krishna, he demands surrender, but Lord Chaitanya makes no such demand. He is so kind. Prabhupada starts crying. So take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and be happy. Thank you very much. So in the festivals, I'll even show you, there's a picture of Prabhupada dancing at the 1975 Rath Yatra in San Francisco, California. And you look up and it says Hey, you know what? Why don't we could even play it? How about that? Let's see. Let's see if I'm good enough to find it here. Okay, it's in Los Angeles, 1960. Oh, I found it. Wow.
He blessed him. Gives his commentary.
You can put it close to the mic.
I will. I'm going to find it.
The real beneficial work is poor. But other person comes to him, the exam. He's the proprietor of it. If you become Krishna activity. Ignorance, left side. Suppose he does not know. And as soon as you come in, because in the Bhagavad-gita, because they do not know, everything here is bad. Condition and life. And in Krishna consciousness, we should try to elevate our Krishna consciousness movement is authorized. Help me.
Okay, here it is.
So the kingdom important. I shall go away, but you can boys and girls.
Okay, I found it.
To this movement, he comes back to this miserable world, and that is the supreme abode of the Lord. So there are descriptions in the Bhagavad-gita. So this Krishna consciousness movement is authorized, very important. Now, you American boys and girls who are taken to this movement, please take it more seriously, and that is the mission of Lord Chaitanya and my Guru Maharaj, and we are also trying to execute the will by disciplic succession. You have come forward to help me. I shall request you all that I shall go away, but you shall lead. Don't give up pushing on this movement, and you be blessed by Lord Chaitanya and his divine grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhu. Thank you very much.
It's not the exact. He was saying earlier that that who knew that I would come to the shelter of my spiritual master? He was born in a different family. I was born in a different family. Who knew that you American boys and girls would come to me? These are all Krishna's arrangements. So, in that spirit, one should continue presenting Krishna consciousness without watering it down, without changing the principles, with the same enthusiasm, whether it's 1968, 1978, 1993, 2002, 2025, the same thing. And the result is up to Krishna. Whether it's times of plenty, times of scarcity, a lot of people are joining, less people are joining, it doesn't matter. Just like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the tangible results he perceived in his life, and he was working very hard, he was dissatisfied. Felt trepidation in his heart, and then Lord Chaitanya personally appeared to console him. This was 1907, and he dedicated, after receiving that instruction, for the next 7 years, he just chanted the holy name continuously. And Lord Chaitanya said, by doing this, you'll deliver the entire world. In other words, Krishna will. There's a very nice statement in one of Prabhupada's purports in the 29th chapter of the 4th canto. The Lord, seeing the devotees' merciful attempt to help people, what does the Lord do to reciprocate? He enlightens the people from within automatically. And you see Prabhupada's prayer on the Boston Commonwealth Pier. Please allow them to understand this message. Make my words suitable for their understanding. See how personal this is? It's not just, like a formula like science, Everything is based on personal. One time, Prabhupada was asked about Vedic technology, like how, they had airships and they had this incredible architecture. Even see, like, how were the pyramids built, or how did they build all these incredible buildings? I think there's a place in India that just the solid rock, they carved out a huge temple in the rock, and what kind of tools, and just they can't explain it. Prabhupada said to that very strongly, and these are his scientists, the Bhaktivedanta Institute. And the devotees that his disciples at Prabhupada gave the task of explaining Krishna consciousness in such a way that those who are absorbed in empirical science can understand and respect. And he just said emphatically, the answer to that question is Guru Parampara. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wrote a song called Guru Parampara, and he's describing the disciplic succession from Krishna to Brahma to Narada to Madhvacharya and all of Madhvacharya's disciples down to ultimately Madhavendra Puri, Ishvara Puri. Lord Chaitanya is describing that to serve the feet of his guru, such and such, was the sole purpose of such and such. And then and to give pleasure to his guru was the life and soul of such and such. Life and soul, and my only desire. That's not a machine. That's an affair of the heart. Right? Like if there's a loving relationship, then everything is good. If the relationship breaks down, everything is finished. Right? So Krishna Sambandha, relationship with Krishna, makes everything happen. You don't have to worry about miracles. You don't have to try to stretch things or try to contort things. It just happen automatically by the grace of the Lord and will of the Lord. When Srila Bhakti Santa, he had said, if nobody comes, don't worry. You can preach to the four walls. Four walls, it's inanimate. But there was one program that the devotees went to, and they even paid a fee because it was a prestigious hall, and hardly anybody came. And they were apologizing to the Prabhupada, we're sorry that we brought you here. No one came. No one came. You did not see Narada Muni, Lord Shiva. They personally came. When you are presenting pure Krishna consciousness, the host of demigods, all saintly persons take notice. Our audience are the Sajjana Toshini, the pleasure of the pure devotees. Not just those who are in physical bodies that we can perceive, or those online. The ultimate online is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in one of his prayers to Janavidevi, the internal potency, the consort of Lord Nityananda, says, may all you Vaishnavas throughout the universe. It's not just that he's actually conscious of all the Vaishnavas throughout the universe. Bless me that I can achieve the mercy of the lotus feet of Janavidevi. One of his prayers. Prabhupada says in one place, there's an invisible chain of cooperation between the Lord, the demigods, and devotees on earth. There was a drought for 6 years in Hyderabad, big city, main city in Andhra Pradesh, AP, India, central southern India. Very serious. 6 years, no rain. Different places in India, they really depend on the rainy season. Like UP, Uttar Pradesh, these states, they're like semi-desert. So when the rain, it's like, wow. And if there's no rainy season for 1 year, or it's very scant, 2 years, 3, it's very serious. So Prabhupada came with his disciples and did a pandal, a Hare Krishna festival. The drought was over. And everybody took notices of that. It was amazing. Okay. All right. Anything else? Moving on.
Just a little comment. Am I right to understand that the knowledge that we get of Krishna depends on us rendering selfless service, love and devotion, and also being with other like-minded devotees?
Yeah. Now, one thing about devotional association, like we're here, we say, is such a great soul is very rare. Two of Srila Prabhupada's very elevated devotees, lady devotees, Yamuna and Dina Tarani. One unfortunate thing in the movement 50 years ago, everybody was very young, was that many of the men had kind of, what would you call it, the He-Man woman haters club, you know? It's like overly macho, you know, like, you know, your latent material desires are not satiated, or you've graduated or risen above it. So, you know, there's attachment. So what's the opposite of attachment? Aversion. You know, it's like you become angry at the objects that are attracting you because you can't have them or get involved, you know, because of your status as a renunciate, so-calledly. Anyway, to a very large degree, that is, you know, the oldest devotee in the movement at that time was maybe 32 years old. So it's good to be in a society where there's elders and there's been many generations to understand things properly. So anyway, they started their own ashram in the place where she grew up in Eugene or Bend, Oregon, which is quite a distance north of Los Angeles. So the devotees in Los Angeles were complaining to Prabhupada that they've left the movement and this and that. They were just starting their own temple, and it was for ladies only. You know, all this kind of woke thing that, you know, there was like someplace in California that got sued for having, you know, like a restaurant or a bar, ladies' night or men's night, you know, because there's discriminatory, you know, for God's sakes, you know, it's like men want men time and ladies want, you know, so Prabhupada wasn't having any of it. So they came down from Oregon, and Yamuna is saying to Prabhupada, they're saying that we have left the devotee association. And Prabhupada just looked at the two of them and just understood how just such amazing they were as devotional partners and all the good that they would do. And he said these words. He said, association can be 2 or 200. If it's 200 and it's unfavorable, but if it's 2 and it's favorable, that's all you need. You don't need anything else. And then he looked at them very lovingly and said, you should remain together for the rest of your lives. And everything they did was just fantastic. You can read, there's a very nice book that's compiled by Dina Tarani called, what is the name of Yamuna's biography book? A life and what's it called? A very nice title. It's in 2 volumes. It's not only a history of their lives or Yamuna's life, but Yamuna is the devotee who's chanting Govindam Adipursham Tambaham. George Harrison said to her, I could make you a star. And she said, no, that will just take me away from my devotional activities.
She's still alive?
She passed in 2011. There's a history of the movement. She was one of the founding members of the San Francisco Temple, London Temple. Who here has ever been to London? London Ishvar. And also she and her husband at the time, another one of the first devotees to join Srila Prabhupada, Guru Das, they were the first devotees to establish the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan. amongst other things. And she was also an amazing cook. She wrote Lord Krishna's Cuisine, which won a huge award in like the non-devotee circles, Cookbook of the Year. And what's it called? Unalloyed devote. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, for encouragement, the good association might not all like, here we're together, we're looking at each other, might not always be available, but Krishna will take that into account. You might live at a distance or your situation, but hearing and chanting, this technology is so nice. You could put on your headphone, or what is that called? Bluetooth. You don't even need a wire, How is a tooth being blue making you hear? I don't know.
Viking.
A Viking who had blue teeth.
And the symbol is a Viking rune, and because it was developed by Scandinavians.
Okay. I guess there's some good of not having dental hygiene 1,000 years ago. I wouldn't want my teeth to turn blue.
Yes. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
I mean, many devotees, many hours of their day is like hearing, and I've gone through like everything audio of Prabhupada. Even now, I mean, maybe only 2 or 3 times. There's only so much time in your life, I don't remember how I got it. Somebody who's more tech savvy how do you download this and where do you get it from? And
You should think. What's the name of the app? The one that audios?
I don't know what app it's. Well, I mean, it's in the app for music, and it just got put in there. Anything like that, I have like some of my younger, like not the Bhagavad, say, just do this for me. I don't want to think about it.
Not a Bhagavad.
Yeah, I mean, he went to school for that. You know what would have been really good if I had learned, maybe you'd agree, we had learned in school. Krishna says, I am the seed of all this and medicinal herb. Know what all plants are, what they do, how to mix them, cure all diseases, live a long life. That would be real knowledge. Yeah, the pharmaceutical. Yeah.
Pharmaceutical. So,
There's a little saying, if nature didn't make it, don't take it. Okay, we don't go into that. All right. Anything else?
I wanted to share.
Okay.
When Krishna says, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about it.
That's beautiful. Do you know that is one of the 4 seed verses of the Bhagavad-gita from 10:8, 9, 10, and 11? There's the 4 most important verses of the Bhagavad-gita. Do you remember in your training what was that defined or called? Chatur Shloki Bhagavad. Right. Just like there's the Chatur Shloki in the Bhagavatam.
4 verses.
Canto 2, chapter 9, verses 30, 31, 32, and 33.
To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. And then Arjuna responds, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, the ultimate of all, the purest, the absolute truth. You are eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Vasita, Devalata, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you and now you yourself are declaring it to me. And then he says, "Oh Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality."
Okay. Kirtan.
Yeah, I think why don't we cap off this ecstatic discussion with blissful kirtan.
That sounds delicious.
The other type of delicious part of the program will follow the delicious kirtan.
Delicious and nutritious. Thank you, Aaron.